Imagine living your entire youth locked inside a dark room. Not for a few days, not for a few months, but for 25 years. No sunlight, no fresh air, no contact with the outside world. And the people responsible weren't strangers. They were her own family. In 1901, police forced their way into a respectable home in Poitiers and discovered a woman weighing barely 55 pounds, lying in a bed of filth after decades of imprisonment. Her name was Blanche Monnier, and the reason she was locked away for a quarter of a century was simply because she fell in love with the wrong man. In a quiet street in western France stands an ordinary-looking house. Nothing about it suggests horror. Yet behind its walls, a young woman once spent 25 years imprisoned in darkness, hidden from the world by the very people who were supposed to love her. Her name was Blanche Monnier, and her story remains one of the most disturbing family crimes in European history. Blanche Monnier was born into privilege in the city of Poitiers during the 19th century. Her family belonged to the haute bourgeoisie, wealthy and socially respected. Her mother, Louise Monnier, was well known in the community and admired for her charitable works. Her brother, Marcel Monnier, would later serve as a local government official. To outsiders, the Monnier family appeared respectable, cultured, and deeply honorable. Blanche herself was described as beautiful, intelligent, and well-educated. She enjoyed music and played the piano well. Like many young women of her class, her future seemed simple and predictable. She would attend social events, find a respectable husband, and live a comfortable life. But one decision changed everything. Around 1876, Blanche fell in love. The man she chose was a lawyer who lived nearby. He was educated and respectable, but in the eyes of her family, he had one unforgivable flaw. He was poor. To Louise Monnier, the idea that her daughter might marry a man beneath their social standing was unacceptable. Marriage among the upper classes was not just about love. It was about status, reputation, and family honor. Louise demanded that Blanche abandon the relationship, but Blanche refused. She insisted on marrying the man she loved, and her refusal would trigger a punishment almost impossible to imagine. Enraged by her daughter's defiance, Louise Monnier made a horrifying decision. Instead of allowing the marriage, she locked Blanche in a small upstairs room inside their family home. The house stood on what is today Rue Arthur Rank in Poitiers, though at the time the address was known as 21 Rue de la Visitation. The room was sealed. Windows were boarded shut. Light was blocked out. Blanche was chained to a bed and left in near total darkness. Her brother Marcel either helped with the imprisonment or, at the very least, helped keep the secret hidden. And so began one of the most horrifying acts of family cruelty ever recorded. Years passed, then decades. Blanche never left the room. She survived on scraps of food brought by servants or family members. The room slowly filled with waste, spoiled food, and insects. Rats became her only companions. She never saw sunlight. She never spoke to anyone outside her family. Outside the house, life continued as normal. Neighbors believed Blanche had simply disappeared. Her family even pretended to grieve her mysterious absence. Eventually, people stopped asking questions, and the world forgot she had ever existed. Even the lawyer she loved died in 1885, never knowing what had happened to her. Blanche remained locked away, year after year. Then in 1901, something unexpected happened. The office of the Paris Attorney General received a shocking anonymous letter. It read, "I have the honor to inform you of an exceptionally serious occurrence. A woman is imprisoned in Madame Monnier's house, half-starved and living in her own filth for the past 25 years." Authorities were skeptical. The Monnier family were respected members of society. Surely such a claim had to be false. But the accusation was too serious to ignore. Police were sent to investigate. When officers arrived at the Monnier house, they were initially refused entry. Suspicious, they forced their way inside. After searching the home, they discovered a locked upstairs room. The windows were boarded shut. A terrible smell filled the air. When the door was finally opened, the officers were confronted with a scene they would never forget. Inside the room lay Blanche Monnier. She was 51 years old. She weighed barely 25 kilograms, about 55 pounds. Her hair had grown long and filthy. She was lying naked on a bed covered in rotting food, insects, and human waste. The air was so foul that police struggled to remain inside the room. Blanche had not seen sunlight for 25 years. Yet when rescuers carried her outside, she reportedly said something simple but heartbreaking. She said how wonderful it felt to breathe fresh air again. The discovery shocked France. Louise Monnier was immediately arrested. But justice would come quickly and strangely. Shortly after being taken into custody, she suffered a heart attack and died 15 days later. Her son, Marcel Monnier, was also arrested. During the trial, he was initially convicted for his role in hiding his sister. But the conviction was overturned on appeal. The court ruled that the French Penal Code did not clearly define a legal duty to rescue someone in danger. In other words, because he had not physically imprisoned Blanche himself, he could not be held legally responsible for failing to free her. The verdict outraged the public. Many believe Marcel had helped conceal the crime for decades. Yet legally, he walked free. To this day, no one knows who sent the anonymous letter that saved Blanche. Some historians believe Marcel himself may have written it once his mother became ill, hoping to free his sister before becoming her sole jailer. Others suspect a house servant who learned the truth and secretly reported it. The mystery has never been solved. Although Blanche had been rescued, her suffering was far from over. The psychological damage of her imprisonment was devastating. Doctors reported severe mental illness caused by the decades of isolation. She struggled with multiple disorders and was unable to adapt to normal life again. Eventually, she was placed in a psychiatric hospital in Blois. There she spent the rest of her life. In 1913, Blanche Monnier died quietly at the age of 64. Blanche Monnier's story is remembered today as La Séquestrée de Poitiers, the sequestered woman of Poitiers. It is a haunting reminder that sometimes the most terrifying crimes do not happen in dark alleys or distant places. Sometimes they happen inside ordinary homes, hidden behind respectable families, and concealed by silence. Blanche was robbed of her youth, her freedom, her love, and eventually her sanity, all because she chose to marry for love.